What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Little Scale Cars YouTube channel. Today in the review box we have the Matchbox Subaru BRZ, debuted in the collector's line in the spring of 2024, so it has been a while, but it is still pretty easy to find. So let's take a closer look at it, and if you don't have this one already, let's find out if it's worth picking up. So let's kick things off with our casting. And we will take a quick look at our proportions and everything here. So as we see, go around, everything's looking mostly all right. Nothing too egregious, at least in the metal body and casting and all that. That being said, what is actually metal? Well, almost everything you see is going to be metal. So the entire main body, everything painted in blue here, is going to be metal. And then our base is actually metal as well, since this is like the Matchbox Premiums, basically. When we get to the casting itself, all these kind of vents here on the side casted in, all your body lines casted in gloriously. We do get mirrors, we do get the antenna up front, or on top, sorry. Up front here, this grill section is casted. You might be able to hear that ever so slightly. All these kinds of like little intakes and cutouts, all casted in, looking good. There's no actual like cutouts that go through the full metal body, but not really all that surprising considering the car itself. One thing that I should definitely note of, and I guess this would fall under the proportions, is the ride height. It's a little tough to tell here. I'll insert a picture that kind of shows you a little bit better. It sits pretty high, and it's not exactly the best looking. It does give off a little bit of monster truck kind of vibes. And I'm not sure if that's just these wheels are too big and they need to put in some smaller wheels for the collector's line, or if the casting just kind of sits a little oddly. Not 100% sure, but it is definitely something we need to make a note of. Moving into our paint and deco, this is the initial release, the first edition, if you will. And as of now, this is still the only release, and you get this kind of nice metal flake blue, which looks good. It's pretty much an iconic color for this car. I don't know if it matches perfectly to the real-life car. It's slightly different, but it's not awful by any stretch of the imagination. I think that this, maybe not this particular shade, but a blue one was definitely the ideal choice for the first one. Curious to see what they'll do next, maybe a red or a yellow. But yeah, good choice on the paint and deco here. When it comes down to the details, we'll start up front here. And you can see very nicely we have two tampoed headlights that look pretty good. We get a Subaru logo right there. And then we get the grille tampoed in as well. Like I did say, it is textured, so that is nice. Then you get these kind of extra little intakes here, tampoed on and looking pretty good. And then the little orange reflectors on the side. So overall, the deco on the front is pretty good and pretty full. Making your way down the side, we do get the rubber tires since this is a collector's. You get some wheels, simple 5 spokes, nothing crazy. They're all right. You do get a little tampo here on this side vent thingy, which looks cool. I'm glad that that was there. That is something I actually expected them to ignore. Coming to the rear section here, we do get our two taillights looking great. We get the Subaru logo and the BRZ badging, and then we get a license plate that just simply says Subaru BRZ. As far as our tampo work, that is all we have to really talk about. But, yeah, very nice on the detailing and the tampo work. For our roll test, it should be no real surprise that it rolls, and it rolls very smooth. Very much on par with like a Hot Wheels Premium and how easy it rolls. I went ahead and put this one on the scale, and it comes out to be 43.83 grams. So that metal body, metal base combination definitely adding up to a very hefty car, which has a nice feel to it. Pros and cons, kicking things off with our pros. As of right now, this is the cheapest way to get the second generation of the BRZ into your collections. There's a couple first generation ones. There's a Tomica and a, who was it? Somebody else, maybe a Kyosho. There's a couple different first gen ones that are really, really nice. But for our second gen here, there's a Tomica, this Matchbox, and a Pop Race, I believe. And of the three, this is the easiest and the cheapest to get in the US here. The second big pro is going to be that metal base. That really adds a nice hefty weight and feel to the car and makes this feel like nice and sturdy and really, really good. I thoroughly like that. When it comes to the cons, there is one that is really, really obvious, and that is the ride height. I mean, it's not even that bad, but it just, it's bad enough that it's noticeable. And one thing is that noticeable, it really puts a damper on it. And I think is probably a huge contributor to why this casting is a bit of a peg warmer. Because when it's sitting down like this, it's a little bit harder to notice that it's kind of sitting up high. But when it's sitting there on the pegs in the box, it's very easy to tell. It just kind of looks odd. Again, sitting on the ground looks all right, but that's not what you see when you're going to buy it. Could be why this one has been a bit of a peg warmer and is still easily available like 9 months later. For some quick size comparisons, here we have it with some sports cars from Hot Wheels, with the Toyota GR86 Cup from Hot Wheels and the Nissan 400Z. And here we have it with some other small sports cars from various brands, with the Matchbox Audi TT-RS and the Lotus Elise from Tomica. Let's tally it up and figure out an overall score here. The hype level, I think, is going to be an 8.8. It was a pretty hyped casting, but I think once the pictures came out and we kind of saw that it was a little bit high, I think that kind of killed a little bit of the hype. Execution, I can only give it an 8.5 out of 10. I really like everything, but that ride height really, really bothers me and is going to take a significant chunk out of the execution score. And then feedback, yeah, pretty much any complaint that I've had, other people have complained about. I have seen quite a few complaints about like the fitment of the wheels not sitting super flush. And yeah, that's definitely a thing that's there. It's not super noticeable. It's not horrendous or anything, but it is, yeah, the offset's not perfect there. So an 8.5 out of 10 on the feedback as well. When we take these three scores, add them together, and average them out, we are going to end up with a nice and simple 8.6 out of 10 for the overall score. It's definitely an earned score for sure, as this one just overall is okay. I think the ride height is definitely the biggest thing that you're going to have to just kind of get over if you want it. Curious to see what putting this one in like the main line or even maybe the moving parts line, getting some plastic wheels on it, if that would help with the ride height at all. Not sure. It could be the real riders that are causing the issue. Overall though, for the $5 to $6 price tag, this one's just not quite where it should be. So I can't really recommend it all that much. But if you are a big Subaru fan or you're a big BRZ fan, I definitely say go ahead and pick one up. It's not that bad, especially when it's sitting down like this. Looks fine. But it's got some things to think about. I'm really curious. Hopefully Matchbox kind of goes back, reworks this if they continue to keep it in the premium lineup. Or let's put a plastic base on it and throw it in the main line because paying $1 for a slightly higher ride height doesn't bother me nearly as much as $5 to $6. And with all of that out of the way, guys, that is all I have for this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and leave a comment telling me your thoughts on this particular release, and I will see you in the next video.